I see you. I invited you. She's jumping on. There she is.
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. I had a little of a snafu in my office before this all happened. That's why I was slow email or texting with you. Because
Sure.
the overhead light in my fan wasn't working. So then I had to like jimmy rig a light because I can't have this open or it gets too bright and you can't see me. So
Yeah.
whatever. So we're all good. You look good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
I got the baseball hat going. We were doing yard work, so I didn't really get very fancy.
T-shirt,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I know there's some people on already that want to hear your story, and I know a lot of people watch these now after the fact too, if they can't make it live. So,
Yeah.
I know I talked to you about how we did it with Tim. It's just to really share, like, kind of like the journey we've been on and your story. So I always like to start like, what was life before everything happened? Like when you had to make those life changes. I mean, that's like you think of like what kind of led up to it. What was life like before? If you want to start with that.
Yeah. So I became a registered nurse in 2001. Mike and I got married in 2003, so we'll be married 20 years in November, which is crazy. We had our first child in 2005, and we had another one in 2006. And during that time and a couple years after that, life became really, really stressful. We had some enormous things going on. Was able to hold it all together, but as we know, stress is really hard on our bodies, and can play a toll on things. So fast forward to 2010, things were better, life was good, and my body started falling apart after that. So random weird things would start happening. My legs would feel like they weren't working right. Girl issues, you know, I had two huge babies really close together, and sometimes your bladder doesn't work after you have huge babies, and things started happening. I'd go running, and all of a sudden weird things were happening when I would go running. And so I was like, oh, it's just, you know, two big babies, and started going to the doctor, started getting things worked up, and one thing led to another. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in about, I was trying to remember what year. I want to say 2012, and I can't find it written anywhere, but I want to say it's 2012. Yeah. You know, Jen and I have been friends since we were what, 15?
15, 16, yeah.
Yeah.
Sophomore year.
She was, you know, in my life during all of this craziness, and I became diagnosed, and things started happening really fast. So they told me I'd be in a wheelchair within a year. And they wanted me to go on disease modifying meds. My mom also has MS. So I saw, you know, how she lived her life and what those meds were like. And being a nurse, I knew enough that I knew I didn't want to be on those meds for the rest of my life. You know, before all this happened, we ate a normal diet. We were normal people. I worked a normal job. It was like the standard American life, so to speak. But not wanting to be in a wheelchair and not wanting to be on disease modifying meds, I had to figure something else out. I was like, something else has got to give. This can't be the only option I have, right?
And just real quick, you have, tell them the type of MS you have, because I know there's different classifications.
Yeah, so I have primary progressive. So that means it continuously gets bad. My mom has relapsing remitting. So she would have an exacerbation or an attack where, you know, her arm would go numb, but then she'd get her arm back. So hers would get bad and then get better, get bad and get better. Each time a little bit worse, maybe, where mine just kept getting worse, and things weren't getting better. So something had to give. At that time, Jen was exploring going to IIN, the Institute of
Integrative Nutrition.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, you need to take this you need to do this with me. This would be really good for you. And I'm like, no, I'm not going back to school. I've been to school. I don't want to do that anymore. But I read about it, and I was like, well, you know, maybe I can learn something on how to take care of myself, right? And
Yeah.
one thing led to another, and it ended up being an amazing experience. Learned how to take better care of myself, learned how to eat better, learned how to stress manage, all the things, right?
Yeah.
One of the main things that I did while in the program was an elimination diet, where you took out all the, can you guys still
Oh yeah.
hear me? There's a
Yep.
lawnmower
No,
out there.
we can hear you just fine.
So I did an elimination diet where I eliminated gluten, dairy, corn, all those eggs, things that your body can react to, right? And when I did that, there's a doctor, Dr. Terry Wales, however people want to pronounce it. She has MS, and she kind of cured her MS through a certain way of eating. And I was drawn to her, learned about a lot of the things that she was doing. She was in a, wheelchair, not able to walk, and she rides bikes and she runs and she does all these things now because she healed her body, which they say you can't do, right? They say you can't take care of these things. It's crazy. So anyways, I learned that cutting gluten out was huge. Cutting corn out was huge. I'm sensitive to almonds. I'm sensitive to eggs, sensitive to all these things that you have no idea. We don't learn about it in nursing school, in medical school, all these things. You don't learn nutrition. You just learn how to take care of people, how to assess people, how to give people medications, right?
Yeah.
We don't learn how to figure out the root cause and how to fix things.
Yeah.
So through doing that, I slowly learned how to fix myself. Now, do I still have issues? Yes. I have a neurogenic bowel and bladder. Most of the things that I have going on, people can't see. So they think that I'm completely normal, which I am, right?
I laugh as a friend.
So, and over time, that was 2012, changed the way I ate, changed, decreased stress in my life. I'm very devout, very faithful. I'm very prayerful. I give a lot of stuff up to God. Don't worry about things I can't control. If I can't control it, I try to let it go and let Him control it, because all it does is bring me stress, which destroys your body.
Yeah.
So,
did you always think you were like that though before this all happened?
No.
Because you had a tough time with having two babies they were only 1 year, 1 day apart. I mean, there was like boom, boom. I remember that was crazy for you.
Constant stress,
Yeah.
constant worry, anger.
Yeah.
Why is life so stressful? Why did this happen to me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I being punished for something? That crazy thoughts now. How could I even think that?
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of grateful for my disease, which people are like, how can you be grateful for MS? Well, it brought me to where I am today on this health journey, right? Yeah. I wouldn't have made the changes that I have. My husband wouldn't have made the changes he's made. My children, still a work in progress, but, we live a healthier life overall because of what happened to me. So 2019, we started detoxing our life. I brought essential oils in, we clean with them, we use them medicinally, we diffuse them. They're a huge part of our life, because there's so many things out there that are disruptive to our hormones, their endocrine system, everything. So, did this happen overnight? No. I mean, this has been 2012. It's a 12 year journey of little tiny changes along the way.
Yeah. And so if you think back over the years when you were talking about how you went from 2012 to 2019 and in there, you had those indications, but was there, I can actually recall when I was going, because we were doing it at the same time, because my youngest at that point then it was Robert, and he was going through all his crazy health issues, the undiagnosed birth defect, and it was a hellish 2 years. And then my health was failing because of all the stress and everything of having two little ones, one super sick all the time. and I was caregiving my parents. It was just nuts. And so we were going through this journey together at the time. And I can remember having, I hit that brick wall. I was like, okay, either if I don't change my ways, I'm just gonna die. I mean, literally, I was going down that path, and I was like, okay. And so there was like, I can still remember you were over at my house, and I at that point we were both just like, I don't know what we're doing. Like we don't know, like whatever. And I don't even know how I figured out the elimination diet, to be honest, because I remember this was back in the day when, what was it called? My Fitness Pal. Do you remember that when we were on there together?
Oh,
we had
yeah.
no clue. Like,
you could exercise so you could eat Oreos, right? You could track your calories, you could run so that you could eat 16 Oreos. It was amazing.
And it was like the fitness Facebook. That's what it felt like, because you chat with these random strangers about what you're doing. It was fun though, but that was like our only way of having anyone that didn't think we were absolutely nut jobs at the time.
Yeah.
But I remember like the whole gluten-free thing, and you learned, because I think I had already gone through it, going, oh my gosh, gluten kicks my butt like bad. And so then I remember handing you a bag of gluten-free flour. I'm like, this stuff's the best. Like, you gotta try this.
What?
Remember that? You're at my house. I can still remember. It's so funny. And that's kind of when you were starting to do that elimination diet, I think around the same time. And then I hired the coach who told me about IN, and I was like, because we were going on this journey, and I'm like, okay, school starts in like less than a month, and I'm like, sign up, we gotta go. I can remember talking to you on the phone in the car. I'm like, I'm registering, come on, let's do this together. It was really, that's the one thing I always think is so powerful, is besides so many people feel so stuck doing it by themselves, having somebody in your corner that just listens, and even if they do think you're crazy, they're still there for you to go through it. And that's why I think it's so powerful that we have this group. And that's why I'm like, I want you guys to all hear each other's stories, that you're not crazy. You all have unique stories, and you're not perfect. You're not on this, like, we're all rock star athletes at this point, eating freaking green juices and celery. Like we're still having life, right? We're figuring it out, but yet we're all together.
And when you start making these changes, it's somewhat isolating, because the people around you think you're crazy. They think that, what's wrong with her? And then they think, oh, is she going to judge me because I'm eating Oreos still, which I could care less if you're eating Oreos. Okay. But that's the way you feel. You feel like you're all by yourself. You feel like, what are people going to think of me? And then it's a scary, horrible place to be by yourself. So that's why, like, your group is so amazing, because if people want to start making changes, or maybe they already have, they've got support.
Absolutely. I know. I think Tim was on here. I think he still is. Yeah. He'd probably say the same, even hearing his story last month.
Yeah.
Because he's talked to me about that, like going to family functions, and you're like, you bring your own thing, or you just don't eat what everyone else eats, and you're grabbing the smoothie that you brought along. Like, he'd tell me that all the time, and it's just, but there was no judgment. It was just like, this is just what I have to do, to keep myself going and keep myself healthy.
Your gluten-free dessert that sits on the table that no one eats because it's gluten-free.
But I think it's the best thing ever.
Like, wow, this is really good. And it's like, well, yes.
I always love it when I make something that is like healthier, and then they're like, "Oh, this is really good. What's in it?" And I'm like, "I'm kind of afraid to tell you."
I know.
Oh, that's awesome. So how are you feeling now? Like, how have things changed? What's life like for you right now?
Life is good overall. I still have issues, not taking disease modifying meds. I'm never going to do. I do take something called low dose naltrexone. If anybody wants to look it up, it's amazing for autoimmune diseases, whether you have fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis. It's like a immune modulating medication. So the original use for low dose naltrexone was used for drugs and alcohol addiction way back in the day. The drug's been around forever. And in the dosing that I take 6.5 milligrams. It's like teeny tiny. There's no side effects. It's super safe. But what it does is it helps release endorphins, which then modulate your immune system so that it doesn't attack itself. in simple terms. So if any of you are out there and you have autoimmune diseases, this is the one thing that I do take. Many doctors aren't aware of it. You have to find somebody that is comfortable prescribing it because it has to be made in a compounding pharmacy. You can't just go to CVS or Walgreens. I actually have it made up in St. Cloud and mailed to me. But that is the one medication that I do take. And I think it's helped with everything else that I do. It's helped keep me stable. But I still have internal issues that probably will never go away. I have neck issues from being a bedside nurse for 20 years and lifting heavy people and getting the crud beat out of me in the psych unit. But overall, I'm doing really good, really good. I mean, I think I do better than some other 47-year-olds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what is like, so you talked about essential oils that you use, but like, tell us like what your day looks like what are you eating, like what other things besides what you're putting in your body do you make sure you do? I know you and I have talked about the grounding like Tim does and so
I've started grounding, so people know here. Jen's talked about grounding. You should do it. It works, right? I'm someone who never goes barefoot ever in my life. I have socks and shoes on all the time. And when I started grounding, weird things started happening. I was like having pains here and there, and I'd get a little rash on my face. Weird things started happening. I bought a grounding pad because I thought that would be the easiest way for me to do it. I put it in my work chair and I'm sitting on it for 8 hours because go big or go home, right? I was so sick the next 2 days because I overdid it. Totally overdid it. Jen's like, you need to ease into that. I'm like, okay. So if you start grounding, it's amazing, but you need to ease into it if you're not someone who typically has contact with the earth. Yeah. So, all right. So I get up in the morning. I actually get up a little bit earlier than I used to so that I can try to walk 15 to 20 minutes. And I just walk around my house. I don't even go outside. I just do laps around the house, listen to the radio sometimes, pray sometimes. It's morning time, usually before anybody else gets up. I have a cup of coffee and I drink some water. I take my vitamins. I don't typically eat breakfast. I've been doing intermittent fasting to try to heal other things. You know, I'm always trying something new. I typically have a smoothie for lunch or a small salad. I'll pre-make some sort of protein so that I have it if I don't have a smoothie made. And then we try to have a fairly healthy dinner. I don't eat a lot of sweets anymore. I used to be addicted to sweets and had sweets all the time. I don't. Sugar makes me hurt. I'll be honest. Even a banana, the amount of sweetness in a banana can make my feet go nuts.
Crazy. Right?
So, if any of you have ever heard of autoimmune protocol diet, it's an anti-inflammatory way of eating. I go through spurts. So I'll do really good for like a month of super autoimmune protocol diet, and then I slowly get off. And then I'll do really good, and then I'll slowly get off. So I'm not perfect. I still eat tortilla chips and salsa. I still,
you're living life. But I mean,
life.
And that's not like you're eating horribly either still.
No.
So do you, I'm curious, how have essential oils kind of played into the whole thing?
Yeah. So, we're barely ever sick at our house. If you eat fairly good, right? Your immune system is stronger. They say you're not supposed to do things to boost your immune system when you have MS. Psst, I do. I don't believe that. So, we use thieves. We diffuse to clean our air. So we don't get sick very often. If I've got pain, I rub essential oils on my body. Mike drinks grapefruit oil in his water every day. The lemon essential oil is great for detoxing and for your kidney. I mean, we ingest them almost daily. We diffuse them almost daily. Okay. So a huge part of our life is cleaning, though. Yeah. We use them for everything we clean. I clean my fruits and veggies. I clean my counter. I clean my bathtub, my toilet, my dog.
That's awesome.
So
So you called out a couple things. Dr. Walls is the woman, she's out of Iowa, right? Her story was nuts. When you showed me, I didn't even know who she was until you shared me her story. I was like, oh my God. And I do have, I don't know if it's in my office or out in the main part of my house, but I have one of her books. Hers, everyone should, if you have autoimmune disease or anybody, if you're interested, look up her. And I put her name in the chat, but look her up in her story. She literally reversed her MS with, I think it was within 9 months.
with
It was
eating,
insane, crazy, cool
eating.
story. Yeah.
And she's, you know, now she's into essential oils and some supplements and stuff. But back when she was first doing it, all she did was change her eating.
Yeah.
And she would do, you know, she did exercise and physical therapy to strengthen her body back up. But to start with, all she did was change her eating, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I hear that so much with the coaching, and you probably did too. Remember when they always say like 80% of it is what you put in your body? Mm-hmm. It's like, I always tell people, compare it to a really good car you have. You're not going to put the wrong gas or oil in that sucker. It'll just bog down and die. Like the same thing with our bodies. If we don't put something good in there, it's not going to be able to function. It's just going to eventually just wear down.
And I wasn't brought up with healthy food. I mean, my mom was a single mom for years. We ate a ton of fast food. We ate what we could afford, and the cheap stuff was the unhealthy stuff typically, right? So we ate easy, fast, delicious stuff at the time. We didn't know.
And nowadays, and you eat healthy, so much healthier now, but does it seem like it's complicated?
No.
It's kind of that weird, you think it is when you start, though.
It gets easier over time. You don't even think about it. I mean, but make tiny changes. Most people don't just jump in with both feet and succeed and stick with it. It typically doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Little changes.
What do you think were some of, like, if you can think back, like some of the little changes you did over time? And you keep playing. It's also that curiosity of like, hey, let me try this. I'm going to do grounding. Oh, I'm going to try this. You know,
I'm going to do some fasting now. I actually bought a glucose and a ketone meter. I'm going to try some like 72-hour fasts.
Oh, that's
because
awesome.
They reset your body and you activates your stem cells. And I'm going to heal my bladder if it's the last thing I do. So
what were some of those little things like that you did though that you can think of?
Increasing water, because I never drank water to begin with. Adding in more fruits and vegetables, because as a child we ate corn and potatoes.
Yeah.
Potatoes aren't the healthiest and corn is super inflammatory. Those are what we ate. So, you know, I didn't eat broccoli. I didn't eat cauliflower. I didn't eat beets. So slowly picking like one vegetable and trying it a couple different ways, because as we know, as a child, they try something. Sometimes you have to eat something 6 or 7 times before you like it. The same goes for an adult.
Yeah, you're right.
Did I like broccoli when I started eating it? No. It was disgusting. But I kept doing it and I kept trying it in different ways until I found a way that now I just eat raw broccoli.
Yeah. Your palate changes too. Wasn't that the craziest thing?
And when
cut the sugar and gluten out and you're like, why can I taste this? This tastes so good.
And a crazy byproduct of cutting gluten out is I'd had severe migraines since the age of 4, like vomiting, couldn't see type of migraines since the age of 4. They tried putting me on meds. My mom tried to teach me biofeedback so I wouldn't have to go on the meds, but I cut gluten out and my migraines are 99% gone.
Yeah, you rarely get one anymore. You were getting them all the time.
Oh, I'd lay on the floor with my 2 babies and just lay on the floor and barely take care of them because I couldn't function.
Yeah.
So it's like these things that we eat are so impactful. It's just, it's crazy.
That's awesome. I had another question. Now I forgot. Small things. So water was one. You use essential oils. Oh, so this is a big change that probably people in our group don't know, but so you left bedside nursing, and so now you're working as a case manager, and so you went from technically part-time although it was a crazy hard job, a part-time nurse, but now you're full-time at a desk at home, which there's some benefits. There's also a lot of people in this group that I know are at home working at a desk too, not moving. So you talked about walking and such, but what does, like, especially with two kids in the house, you know, two teenagers now, that's crazy, two teenagers now, and what does it look like for being able to plan? Like, what's your, because this is where I think you got really, you're getting good at this stuff because how you plan it so it's not so consuming. Because that's where I think a lot of people get stuck when they're making the changes. Like, just because they have kids and sports and, you know, you're taking care of your mom now because she's by herself and she's, you know, aging and stuff. And so you got all these other things to do and then working full time. Like, tell people like what you do so that it kind of gives them an idea of like how to make it manageable.
So Sunday morning when I get up before we go to church, I make a grocery list, and we'll pick meals. And sometimes we do this in the car on the way to church because our ride is 25 minutes in the car. And I'm like, all right, what's everybody want to eat this week, right? What days are we busy? When do we need fast meals? And we kind of come up with what we want. But then you come home and you do a little bit of prep on Sunday. So whether I cut up my broccoli and my carrots and my cauliflower and I put them in a Ziploc. Sometimes we pre-brown meat for later on in the week that I might use for 2 meals. I try to prep maybe spend a little bit of time and try to prep as much as I can. I'll make sometimes my smoothies on a Sunday because I can use them for 3 days in jars. You put them in a jar and then you have them so they're quick. Going from working 8 days every 2 weeks, which was almost kind of full time, but I had every other weekend that I worked. So I always had days off during the week where I could do my running around and cooking or whatever. Working Monday through Friday, 9 to 7:30 to 5 has kicked my butt because I've never done it in my life until I took this job. I never worked full-time Monday through Friday. So for those of you that do, it is hard to get your exercise in and get your food prep in and still go to your kids' activities and still spend time with mom. And it just takes a little bit of planning. So if you can spend an hour on Sunday or Saturday or Tuesday, whatever day you pick to do a little bit of planning, it makes the week a lot easier. And if I plan out a menu, we eat better. And it's less stressful of me getting off work at 5 or 5:30 and it's like, oh my goodness, what are we going to have for dinner? Because guess what? If we don't know, we're having pizza.
You go convenient.
Yeah. So it's like, if I don't have it planned out, that's what we're having, which isn't the end of the world. We eat pizza, but not every night, right?
Right.
Or you make enough so that like tonight we're having chili. I'll have enough for another night's dinner this week, later on down the week. So when we cook something, I try to cook in portions that are big enough to have leftovers for those nights where, you know, Ellie does have a volleyball game or Matthew's practice goes late or whatever. So.
And you do, like, even for, like, I know we do this and we've talked about this, like making, instead of just a single pound of ground beef for like one meal, you make 2 and then you put the cooked ground beef in the fridge and then you can reheat that on that busy sports night and make like taco bowls or something super fast. And you don't have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have Mexican at least once a week because it's
easy.
And you can use
and healthy
ground turkey. You can use ground beef.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, batch cooking. So if we're grilling chicken breast during the summer, we grill a ton so we don't heat our house up. But instead of making 4 chicken breasts, we'll make 8 or 10 chicken breasts. And you can either throw them in the freezer or you can throw them in the fridge and you can chop them up and eat them on salad. You can then have them in tacos or, you know. So when we cook a protein, we try to cook a lot of that protein.
So one last thing, because this got brought up on Wednesday night's course where I talked about picky eaters and helping parents with that. Do you have any tips or like what it looks like now with teenagers? How to influence them over the years? Because they were growing up while you were going through this.
Oh yeah. They were small and we took away, you know, their chicken nuggets and all the things, right? The ketos and the pizza rolls and the simple things I fed them because that's all I knew.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better. So it was traumatic to begin with. Matthew's really good. He's actually studying to do a gut reset on his own before he starts bulking in November. I mean, he's just so amazing.
And he's almost 18 now.
He'll be 18 in November.
Crazy.
So he keeps me on track. He's like, Mom, you shouldn't be eating that. And I'm like, stop it. Ellie is still a bit of a challenge, still a work in progress. But again, you've got to try things multiple times and try things in multiple ways and kind of meet her where she's at. If I'm eating something, and I'll be honest, sometimes we have things that she still doesn't eat and she'll make her own thing that night. And that's okay.
Yeah, but you don't make it. You have her now make it, right?
Yep. So if she doesn't want what we're having because she doesn't like it, she will make herself something, and sometimes that's a salad, which is amazing. You know, sometimes she'll make herself a sandwich. Sometimes she's started making smoothies. So I kind of meet her where she's at. Yeah. Do I encourage her to try our stuff still? Absolutely. She's like some things that she didn't used to like, but if she doesn't like it, she'll make her own thing.
Yeah. And she has to use whatever's in the house. So you're not going to still not have those Cheetos and Oreos and all that in there anyways.
Absolutely.
So does she, so in that, you talk about that conversation in the car on Sunday morning when you're planning your meal, she has a say in it too, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'll make sure that there's a couple meals during the week that I know she'll like, that she'll eat. So we're not you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody is encouraged to pick at least one, if not two meals. And so everybody's got something during the week that they like.
How many meals do you have on that list?
For dinners?
Yeah. Like, do you have all 5 days, or do you have like 3 main meals and you use them for multiple days?
Well, I'll write out each day of what is specifically we're having, but I know that, you know, if we're having grilled chicken breast with salad one night, I can use that chicken first. Then I'll plan it for like Thursday's meal of using the chicken in another way. So I actually will write out each day what the plan is. And sometimes we deviate from the plan because things happen. But yes, each day is specifically planned out for the meal, but I know I'm going to have enough protein from one meal to use in another meal, or cut up enough vegetables that we can grill vegetables or roast vegetables or eat them raw with ranch.
Yeah. And just so people know, because I know you really well, Carrie's not like a super like nerd when it comes to electronics and using systems. She literally uses a note card to write this down on, like literally like an index card.
These are the note cards I use. I do my grocery list on one side, and on the other side, I make my menu for the week as we're driving. So it's like super simple. I still use a paper calendar, people. I hate my phone calendar and stuff. So I'm a paper pen kind of person.
Yep.
Note cards are my jam. And I do have a dry erase board that I try writing the menu on. I think we have the menu up from a month ago still. So it's like the note card is what I go for.
Well, and
I don't know.
I do the same thing. Like sometimes I'll write it on one of those big Post-it notes, and then I bring the actual printed recipes because I have like a 3-ring binder of recipes. I'll just pull 3 out, stick my list with it just to have the recipe with me just in case. Like I have to quick reference something. And that works too. And it keeps you so focused on what to get that when you end up not buying as much, I find out that I like, and you don't miss anything that'll make you freaking crazy later. They're like, oh crap, I forgot the avocados, or you know what I mean?
And something else too is I don't shop at Whole Foods. I don't have a co-op near me like you do.
Yeah.
We do 75% of our shopping at Aldi's. I'll be honest. That's where we do most of our shopping. We go after church every Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, some of the things I get at Cubs, some things I get at Target, and some things I order off. I've started ordering from Thrive. Thrive is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's nice.
You can get some things from there.
Especially the stuff you use all the time. Yeah.
So, but 75% of the stuff we get from Aldi. So to do this and to eat healthy, you don't have to shop at a fancy store or
I'm gonna put that Thrive Market in the chat too, just so people look at that, what she's talking about. It's like an online grocery store, like healthier grocery store.
Yeah.
It It's really
We're
nice.
getting
And they
our
have fun things
third,
you don't
I
see
just made
anywhere
my
else.
third order. So like, you can get cassava chips. So corn is super inflammatory for our family. So we get like cassava tortilla chips and Dorito type chips and whatnot. And they're much cheaper through Thrive than they are at like
Yeah.
Target.
Yeah. You pay like a little it's not even that expensive, a subscription fee or whatever, and then you get these, and they'll give you crazy good
Oh,
discounts on
it's
stuff
way
too.
cheaper. Like
Yeah.
the Star gluten-free bread and pizza crust and stuff. We love that stuff. Way cheaper than the
Yeah.
grocery store. Like 30 to 40% off.
Yeah, because
So
they
it's
don't
worth
have a brick and mortar location to pay for, so they keep the costs really low.
Mm-hmm.
And they have their
So,
own branded stuff too, which is even cheaper
mm-hmm.
too. Like it's same, organic avocado oil, but you're just getting Thrive Market's version of it.
Or the grain-free tortilla taco shells. We
Yep.
get cassava taco shells from them, and their brand is cheaper than the
that other brand. Yeah, those are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, those are, I seriously, those I would eat those every time over a corn tortilla.
Yeah,
they're so good.
because we eat tacos.
Yeah, I know, we eat a lot of eggs at my house too. Yep. So my last question for you,
mm-hmm.
if you, it's a question, but if you could give anyone advice based on no matter where they are in their journey, what would be like, what kind of advice would you give people now that you've gone through all of this with your kids, with your mom, with yourself? What kind of advice would you give people? Like if you could give 2 or 3 different things.
Be nice to yourself. You know, if you're changing this eating journey and you decide to have some Oreos, it's okay. Because we get to start over every day, right? I fall off the AIP, the autoimmune protocol diet wagon, like every other week. But it's moving in the right direction, right? And if you fall off, don't kick yourself and don't be, I'm done with this. It's, just pick yourself up and start again. It's amazing that every day you get to start new, right?
Mm-hmm.
And be open to something new and be okay with not worrying about what other people think, because when you start this journey of changing your health, people will think you're crazy, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's intimidating and it's scary and it's isolating.
Yeah. At first, and then they it's that saying, I have it up in my wall. First what does it say? First they make fun of you, then they say you're crazy, then I'm trying to see past they ask you how you did it. Yeah. That's literally, I have it. I had to put, because it was so good. I'm like, I'm putting that on my wall by my whiteboard. Of course, the light's shining in my face, so it's hard to read it. But yeah, that's true. They'll make you think you're crazy, and then they're going to ask you how you did it. You just have to kind of ignore it.
And then I'm huge with gratitude. Be grateful for every experience you have, whether it's bad or good.
Yep.
Be grateful. Grateful for my MS. If I didn't have the MS, I wouldn't have changed my life, which wouldn't have put my family on a healthier trajectory.
Absolutely.
Yep. Everything happens for a reason. And I was telling Jen this the other day when we were messaging on Mo. I truly believe people are put in your life for a reason. This girl was put in my life because God knew I was going to end up with MS and I was going to need somebody to help me. Do you know, it's like everything happens. I truly believe that every single thing happens for a reason. It's not for me to figure out, but to be grateful for every moment, regardless of it's horrible or good.
And the tough stuff makes you stronger in the end, and more wise, way more wise. Like you wouldn't have known it if you hadn't gone through it. And then you're that much more grateful for the good stuff too. Yeah, absolutely. You hit it perfectly, giving really good advice, and you've gone through a lot in your life, and it's amazing to see how far you've come, and how, like, every time I talk to you, you're like the biggest beam of light. You're just like, yeah, it just happens, we're good. I'm gonna pray about it. I'm like, dude, you're like taking care of your mom. You lost your stepfather not that long ago. Now you're taking care of your mom who's in assisted care, and like all this, and you're like, yeah, it's just what it is. And you're just, because back in the day when you and I were just having babies, we were like, we were both in that state.
Constant migraines, constant neck hurt, constant upset tummy, constant crabby. Oh, I used to, and I screamed at my children, and I think, oh, I screamed at them.
Yep. Yep.
But you gotta just forgive yourself for that and move forward. And
yep.
you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And
yep.
I wasn't always like this, people. It's
a journey.
It's been a journey. It's been like 12-year journey, and every day gets a little bit better.
So you right now are doing super good health wise. Like, do doctors like say, what the heck are you doing ever?
I don't go to the doctor. What?
You don't really have to if you're never really that sick.
So
That's
I go.
Amazing, though.
Who do I see? I see the urologist once a year, just because I get kidney stones and can't feel them. Being neurogenic means my brain doesn't tell what's going on down there, so I can get kidney stones and I have no idea I have them, which is a mixed blessing because kidney stones are horrible. So they have to monitor my kidney and my bladder, the tubes that go in between, to make sure that things aren't clogged with stones, because I have stones that eventually will move again. So I see that person every year. But I don't, my primary nurse practitioner, we do Zoom visits, and she orders my low dose naltrexone, and I don't
she
really
knows you like, yeah, you're doing good.
yeah, I don't really, go to the doctor. Yeah. I don't know.
No.
Unless I well, and then the things that I have going on, it's like, how do you describe this pain that no one, I mean, they probably think I was crazy.
You still go in if there's something funky going on.
Absolutely.
Like you had some back stuff going
Absolutely.
and you went and checked out.
I had, my arm went numb a couple of years ago with being a bedside nurse and lifting people and being in the psych unit and being physically abused. I had a neck issue. My arm went numb. I went to the doctor. They did MRIs. I ended up with pinched nerve. I mean, yes, I go to the doctor if things are wrong with me. Yeah. But do I go for my annual physical? Not really. I'm not a very good patient in that way. But it's like...
Typical nurse. Oh, did I lose you? Hold on, you froze a little bit. Bummer. Oh, there you are. We got you.
Sorry. My nurse practitioner is amazing. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and you're taking care of yourself. I mean, think of if you wouldn't have done all these changes, where you would be right now. Yeah. So I want to say one other thing, one question just for everybody. If anyone has questions, are they okay reaching out to you directly?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because I know there's a couple others in this group that have talked about, have mentioned they have autoimmune things too, and they might want to just touch base with you and ask you some more questions because you've learned a lot.
Absolutely. Okay. And at one time I thought maybe I'd want to be a health coach like Jen, and it's not for me, but that doesn't mean that I don't still want to help people. So, if people have questions or they want to chat or, they need ideas for things, I'm always happy to help. Or even if someone is going through something stressful with their autoimmune disease or whatever, I can always listen.
Yeah, and you relate because you understand very much so. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for coming on today. So many people are going to love this.
Aww.
Every time you share your story, people just go bananas. I know you did that with Young Living, people with Young Living, the essential oils company. I got to see that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So many people can, even just to have somebody in their corner to give them new ideas of something they can do and honestly give them hope and be an example of that.
Oh, yeah. Yes. If anybody has any questions or they want to chat or whatnot, you can message me. I'm open to talking to anybody. Good. So.
Well, thank you. Thanks. It was nice to see you.
Oh, you too. You too. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, Carrie.
Bye.